When Hyrule's under attack, its saviour Link will come to save the day. But what happens when Link is nowhere to be seen? It's Zelda's chance to be the hero, so stay tuned as we review The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Mysterious rifts have started forming all over Hyrule, with the citizens being absorbed into them. They're taking over locations in the world, blocking anyone from gaining access to their homes and villages. To make matters worse, dark monsters are emerging from the rifts and attacking anyone they come in contact with. Zelda's father is also taken by the rifts, and with Link nowhere to be seen, their situation looks bleak. That is until Tri, a small entity with special abilities, runs into Zelda. Tri agrees to team up with her in order to save the people from the rifts, as well as find out what's causing them. Zelda is given the Tri-Rod at the start of the game, and this will be your main weapon throughout the journey. The Tri-Rod allows you to create echoes, which are copies of objects in the real world. Now these echoes can be used to platform or aid you in combat, and yes, you can create echoes of enemies and use them to do your bidding in battle. New echoes can be learned after killing an enemy for the first time, as well as objects. You'll then be able to use these echoes permanently. Each echo uses some of Tri's power, being represented by triangles, which you can also see attached to Tri. Now you can summon as many echoes as you want, as long as you have the power to do so. Your Tri power will increase as you play, allowing you to field more echoes, and you can quickly toggle between all of your echoes on the fly. Let's first take a look into the game's combat. There are several enemies in the game that utilise close and long range attacks. They can add an elemental effect like burning, which will cause damage over time, or lightning, which will stun you for a few seconds. Now some enemies are also resistant to a certain damage type, for example using a water-based attack on a water-based enemy, but that makes sense, right? Your HP is represented in the form of hearts, and when you die you'll be respawned relatively close by, without any major backtracking. The combat isn't particularly difficult, especially if you stay at range and use the echoes as your shield. When your echoes get killed, you can instantly summon them back. You will also gain access to a certain individual's abilities in the form of sword, bow and bomb attacks. These did add a nice layer to the combat, as you could actually fight instead of relying on echoes. Now echoes do have the tendency to stand around and just look at enemies, and this wasn't just a one-off either, as they did this quite often throughout the game. This can actually be quite annoying, especially when your health is getting chipped away and your echo is standing around waiting for Christmas. Now your sword, bow and bomb forms are tied to a meter, otherwise you just steamroll through the game. You gain power to your abilities back by killing enemies or finding it in the world. Nintendo lists the Echoes of Wisdom as an adventure game, and whilst that is true, there is a lot of platforming and a lot of puzzles that will rack your brain. One of your main objectives is locating each rift and clearing them out. Each rift has multiple floors that you'll need to platform across with the help of your echoes. They all have several puzzles, with some of them proving a challenge. Some of the puzzles I found absolutely mind-boggling, and I can appreciate that's probably a me thing. One of the areas for me was a straight up puzzle maze and had me second guessing my gaming integrity. I've beaten all of the Souls game without summons, cleared XCOM 2 Iron Man runs, but I was struggling to get across some water in a Zelda game. When I did eventually figure out each puzzle, I did feel like an idiot for not solving them sooner, but some of them I did think, who would think to do that? I definitely got tilted with some of the puzzles. Granted, I'm not the biggest puzzle guy. Don't let the game's looks fool you. As good as it is, expect some turbulence with puzzles. But if you are used to brain teasers, this may be a breeze for you. Okay, so you've solved the rift puzzles and platformed your way through every floor, now what? Well, a boss battle, of course. Every rift will end with a boss battle, but how you deal with them will be completely up to you. Yes, you will be using your echoes to do battle, but you'll get to create your own strategy for taking them down. This can be a mixture of defensive and offensive echoes, the sword fighter forms, as well as making use of Tri's bind ability, which lets you move larger objects. All bosses have a few phases and change up their attack pattern in between. Once you've killed them, the rift will be cleared, the citizens freed, as well as the surrounding area returning to normal. For your valiant effort, you'll be rewarded with a heart container, which will give you more HP. Now Tri's power will also be increased, increasing the effectiveness of your echo abilities. I personally thought all of the boss battles were executed perfectly. They all offer something different and make use of all the tricks that you've picked up along the way. The game world is a decent size. It's no Red Dead 2, but it doesn't need to be. You've got a map that lets you track your current objectives, and you can also fast travel to locations that you've previously visited. Each location is unique in regards to its climate, as well as the types of people in the area. For example, you've got the Eldin volcano, which is populated by Gorons. These are rock people that eat rocks. Now I'm not sure if that counts as cannibalism, but I'll save that for another video. There's the Gerudo Desert, which is occupied by people of the same name, who are a group of female thieves. Did you know there's only been one Gerudo male in the entire series? Can you guess who it is? The game world does look nice, with most of the colours being bright and vibrant. The player models look like toys, but that was clearly an artistic choice. The animations were also smooth across the board, but some of the floor tiles looked pretty bland. There is a downside to this though, and that's the frame rate. The game was dropping frames from the start until the finish. Now, it wasn't game breaking, but I could definitely notice it. This isn't a physically demanding game, so I find it hard to believe the issue lies with my Switch. I put this down to how the game was optimised, and for a first-party Nintendo game, this was extremely disappointing. We've touched on the puzzle aspects of the game, but I've not outlined what you can expect from platforming. Now, all Rifts have platforming sections in which the game switches to a 2D side-scrolling perspective. You already know that echoes are the bane of the game's existence, and they of course play a big role in platforming. You can be creative in how you decide to navigate these areas, as well as how you traverse the game as a whole. There isn't a one-size-fits-all solution to platforming. You can use any echoes you want to achieve your goal in a similar fashion to combat. For example, you can use the platform to reach higher elevations, beds as well as spiders, but I preferred using the water blocks as they stacked in any direction. Because they only cost 1 echo power to summon, I could create several of them. I could give you more examples, but the fun of the game was trying something new and saying, oh, that actually worked. And credit to the game, because most things that you do try do work. There are several caves and hidden areas that aren't part of the game's story, and I do recommend exploring any that you come across. They'll all have some chests in them with loot as well as some new echoes that you can learn. Hey, you might get lucky and come across some heart pieces, and who doesn't like extra health? You can branch away from the main story and jump into some side quests. Citizens in each area will have exclamation marks above their heads letting you know that they need some assistance. The majority of these quests require you to find a new echo and show it to the NPC. They provide a backstory as to why they need to see the echo, but they're quite hollow and essentially a glorified fetch quest. They'll typically reward you with some rupees or ingredients that you can use to make smoothies. Oh jeez, what do we do with the rupees? Good question, Morty. Well, each village has a shop that will exchange your hard-earned rupees for some goodies. These are mostly useful for health potions, heart pieces and accessories that you can kit Zelda out with. You can also make smoothies with ingredients you collect during your journey, which will restore health for your special ability meter as well as some other neat buffs. You have the freedom to visit each story location in the order that you want. Despite this, I still thought there was an ideal path of which you should complete first. This is because certain echoes make areas easier to deal with. This is more of an observation and shouldn't be that big of a deal. Unless of course you're a speedrunner. Once you've rolled the final credits, an autosave is made just before the final area. You're free to finish up side quests, collect the rest of the echoes as well as find all of the heart pieces. But in terms of additional content, there is none and the game is wrapped up after the final area. Echoes of Wisdom took me 22 hours to roll the final credits, and that was with some side questing as well as exploration of the game world. Your time may vary, but I think most people are looking at a 20-hour plus playthrough. The game cost me £40 or $52 and I am happy with the price point. With some games retailing for $70 or £70, this type of price point will always be welcome. Now before I give my verdict on the game, let's take a look at what some of the critics had to say. OpenCritic lists the game as mighty with an average score of 86. Metacritic also gives the game an 86 with 112 users leaving a review, and IGN gave it a 9, classing it as amazing. Now I concur with all of the review scores as a whole, and no, I'm not a doctor, baby. But Echoes of Wisdom is a great adventure game and has really shown that Zelda can play the protagonist well. The ecosystem was implemented to perfection, and the creative freedom you're given cannot be understated. I like the chibi art style that was used, there's plenty of world to explore and the story, whilst cliche, was enjoyable. I'm giving Echoes of Wisdom an 8 as I've had to deduct some of the rating due to the frame rate. If the frame dropped a few frames here and there, that's one thing, but it was consistent throughout the entire game. If you enjoy platformers, solving puzzles and a unique take on combat, then I highly recommend Echoes of Wisdom. You will enjoy your time with this one, guys. Ladies and gents, subs and non-subs, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, you know what to do, you've heard it all a million times. All of my socials can be found in my description. And remember, I'll never be a real YouTuber until I've released an apology video. Or two. That's all, guys. Peace out.